Okay, so judging by the intro there, you're probably like, what? You were going to do WCW 98? Yeah, that was the original plan, but things change, and I decided, well, you know what? Let's go. I've got so much this other stuff that's in reserve, like doing a lot of during the period where I thought WWE took a left turn and started down this road to where it didn't interest me anymore. But I thought, well, I've got all this ECW 2006 stuff there, and I literally just went through and checked it, and I only had like 2 or 3 weeks left to book, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just finish this off. So what you're going to be seeing is essentially we're going to have only about 3 matches per show, because that's literally just about all they had. They didn't have very much time, so about 3 matches. I'm not going to go. I'm going to try and remember to do promos and stuff as get down to the essentials, like giving bullet points. Essentially, that's what I'd be doing to these wrestlers then. And that's pretty much what I'd be doing. So for those of you who have not tuned in to one of these before, essentially what I do is I take a roster and I try and figure out how to do a rivalry that would at least interest me, and I think would interest the public. And usually I try and give clean finishes, not too many, and if there is some sort of smods, it's usually very limited. Usually it's a set of brass knucks, it's usually a chair, it's very simple, and it's right at the end of the match, it's just there. And I go through finishes, and essentially that's what I do, because essentially as what is no longer a booker, it's usually a writer would do, is essentially that, and I would just give them bullet points. If they needed me to write out a whole thing, I would probably do it. But my thing is to look at the overall picture. And departing from that with this is ECW 2006. Essentially, the theory is that Vince has decided, oh, I'm going to relaunch ECW and it's going to be bigger and better than before. I'm going to give it tons of money and it'll be a great success. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and it essentially became a developmental territory, and they didn't really do much with it. So essentially, the way I'm looking at this is I'm coming in and I got told I get an hour every Tuesday night, and my mission is, well, I've got a lot more talent than that, and eventually it ballooned up, and I wouldn't have been able to get there. So essentially I'm going to try and limit essentially what I'm going to do. I was only really given one woman that could actually wrestle, and unfortunately I wasn't able to do anything with her, and that's a shame, because Jazz is really a talented woman, and so ideally I would have traded her for someone else, but I kind of decided, well, as far as the ECW originals go, I would keep them all. And I did keep Mike Knox, I did keep Elijah Burke. I just didn't bring aboard Sylvester Takai because he didn't really do much. I didn't bring on board much others. So let me run through the roster for you. Okay, GM, Paul Heyman. That's obvious. Other talent includes Rob Van Dam, Sabu, Tommy Dreamer, Balls Mahoney, Stevie Richards, Tony Mamaluke, Little Guido, the FBI, along with Trinity. Danny Doring, who left after the pay-per-view, but I'd hoping if this were successful, I'd keep him. Roadkill, Al Snow, Super Crazy, Psychosis. Well, essentially they weren't doing anything with those guys, so I picked them up. CW Anderson, I did pick up Hardcore Holly, but I'm using him in an entirely different way than what they ended up using him. Elijah Burke, Matt Hardy. The way I look at it is roughly about this time he was going to be making a jump anywhere, so I'll just be like, hey, Matt, let's get you out of there. So essentially I'd probably go to, he'd still be used over on Raw to finish up his rivalry, and he would end up coming to ECW anyway. Matt Striker, Paul Lund, and Brian Kendrick, even though they were the tag champs at the time, there wasn't a lot being done with them, and I would bring them overboard. I'd say, hey guys, I'm going to use you. You're going to go you can go balls to the wall as much as you want. Just come over here and you can, and I want you to defend those titles. But I'm going with the theory that I wouldn't be allowed to take them off them. So essentially, it would be like the NWA. While they're still technically under SmackDown's control, and they'd be going over there, they'd be pulling double duty. I would let that happen only because they were the tag champs. But as soon as they drop those belts, they're under my control. I picked up Gregory Helms as well. From my understanding, he was available at the time. He wasn't doing much. He was Cruiserweight champ. They weren't doing anything really great with him. And bring him over and bring the Cruiserweight belt with him. Although, again, same deal. I can't transfer the belt without SmackDown's approval. So essentially, he's going to be holding the belt for the duration of this rivalry. Shelton Benjamin comes over too. He wasn't holding the Intercontinental belt at the time. Essentially, jumps over him. So he wasn't doing much. Jamie Noble comes in October. I bring him over. Essentially, he was with he had the Pitbulls thing going on. Kid Cash left. So right after Kid Cash leaves, Jamie Noble comes over. Nova. Now, although he is Hollywood Nova, and he was Simon Dean, by August he was gone. So essentially I'd bring him over and I'd say, hey, you can be Nova for the rest of this time. Just incredible, although he kind of leaves right after around about September. The rest of the ECW Vixens, well, we as I said, we got Trinity, we got Kelly, we got Francine. I did say Mike Knox. Beulah, Jazz, and some girl named Rebecca D. Picked, her. Essentially the tag teams are London and Kendrick, Danny During. We've got the full-blooded Italians. We've got another team that's going to come into a big play. Where did I put? Oh, I forgot to mention, I bring over Val Venus as well. They weren't doing anything with him on Raw, so I'd bring him over. I'll have to double check that, make sure I can still use. I can still use him. And then we got RVD, Sabu, and Dreamer, and Sandman. And as I said, I was going to do something else with Hardcore Holly. He's going to have him team up with Val Venus, and we're going to have a tag team called Veteran Attitude. So 2 guys from the Attitude Era teaming up, and they're both veterans, so we bring them together. Yeah, and that's what we do. And Val's doing his Hello Ladies gimmick. Hardcore Holly's doing his thing as well, but he's not going to be going after that ECW title. He's not going to be doing a lot, and I think servicing him in a tag team is a lot better thing to do. Anyway, guys, so that's about it. And I'm going to be booking every show from here until the pay-per-view. So, which is December to December. So I'm going from One Night Stand has happened. I've made some changes in the roster. Essentially, the card is going to be the same anyway. I don't see any reason why bringing over Kurt Angle would have done a great deal. Although, if I could have used him, I would have. But essentially, he comes over, and within a month or two, he's gone to TNA anyway. So, there we go. So, as you can see, also, I'm not doing what Gabe did. I did not bring Randy Orton and Ric Flair over. But there is some stuff that I am going to do. I'm going to use, essentially in those first few formidable months, I'm going to be doing stuff. I'm going to echo what they did, but I'm going to do it differently. So, will the ECW under my ruling succeed? And maybe I might be able to post that, get an extra 2 hours, essentially launch my own brand that is technically under the WWE umbrella, but is it still its own entity, and it can do things differently. I get free reign and all those sorts of things. But I know I'm going to be stuck taping after SmackDown as it is, so essentially I've only got 1 hour to work with. Hopefully I can eventually go out there and explore and get out from underneath those WWE handcuffs a little bit. Anyway, that's the plan, and essentially this is the make it or break it for me, and I hope you guys enjoy what I end up doing in that final card at December to Dismember. It is vastly different to what WWE did with it. There is no elimination chamber. There is a limited nature to the roster as it is. As you can see, I haven't got any huge stars, but hopefully by the time we get around there, I will have built up my 2 guys that are feuding over that belt high enough that we can do something cool with them. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully this intro video hasn't bored you to tears, and hopefully I've explained enough of what I'm going to be doing so that you can enjoy the ride while we get there. Catch you later.